first one right here, I'm going to just zoom in on the picture to show you what it means in the picture. Okay. So for on this picture, we're finding the lengths of the segments. So the way this works is this length times this length equals this length times this length. So if I was to put in like hypothetical numbers, what I would put would be, let's say this would be 3 units and 6, and maybe 2 and 9. You can do 2 times 9 equals 3 times 6. Okay, and then over here, I'm going to slide this over here to this one. Whoa, this is really zoomed in now. Okay, so for this style of problem, what we're going to do is, Mackenzie, can you? Okay, for this style of question, what we're going to do is we're going to take the length of this exterior segment and multiply it by the length of this entire segment, and then put that equal to the exterior segment times the length of this. So if we have like 2 units here and the whole thing is 9, and let's say this is 3 units and the whole thing is 6, we can do 2 times 9 equals 3 times 6. Okay. And the last one, of course, we're going to practice these on the practice page too. This one right here, how this works, says that EA gets squared. So this segment right here will be squared. So let's say this is 4. EA would be 4 squared. And then it would be this exterior segment times the length of the whole thing. So maybe 2 and 8, like this being 2 and 8, 2 times 8. Okay, so now we're going to flip over to actually the back page of the notes. I'm going to zoom out here too. Okay, 10.6, we just have one page. We're not even going to do all the questions on the page. Okay, so for the first set of questions, just to quickly review, if you have a circle and you have 2 intersecting chords, then this length times this length equals, say, this length times this length. So if you have, like, let's say this is 3 and 4, and this is 2 and 6, 3 times 4 equals 2 times 6. Okay, so that's how these problems are going to work. We're going to do 1 and 2. We're not going to do 3 and 4. So we'll use that space if you need to. Okay, so this segment times this segment equals this segment times this one. So 10 times 6 equals 12 times x. So we get 10 times 6 is 60. 12 times x, 12x. And then just solve for x. X equals 5. And for number 2, same thing, this times this equals this times this. So 10 times 18 equals 9 times x minus 3. Are you kidding me, guys? Y'all that came late, every time you knock, that's the face we gave. Here. Nothing. Okay. 10 times 18 is 180. 9 times x is 9x. 9 times negative 3, 27. Add 27 to both sides. 207 equals 9x. X equals 23. Number 5. We're in this section, we're not going to do number 7, we're going to do 5, 6, and 8. Okay, so for this style of question, we take the external segment and we multiply it by the whole length here, which 10 plus 6 would be 16. And again, this external segment times this whole length, which would be x plus 8. So we'll do 6 times 16 equals 8 times x plus 8. So we get 96, and then distribute this, we get 8x plus 64. 96 minus 64 is 32 equals 8x divided by 8, and x equals 4. Before we do number 6, we're actually going to do number 8 because it's more of a basic problem. So for 8, again, external segment times the length of the whole thing, so x times 45 equals the external segment times the length of the whole thing, 27 times 50. So we get 45x equals 27 times 50 is 1,350 divided by 45, and x equals 30. And then for number 6, I'm going to start it up kind of higher because I need more room to solve it. All the ones that we're skipping have this idea where you have to solve a quadratic. So I want to make sure that I cover it for the higher level students because the basic questions, that's more like level 2 and 3. If you're looking for a 4 or 5, you have to know how to take it one step from that, and this would take it one step higher. So for this one, it starts out the same process, just the exterior segment times the length of the whole thing, which would be 12. Exterior segment times the length of the whole thing, which would be x plus 4. So we start out with 5 times 12 equals x times x plus 4. And then I start solving it. X times x is x squared, 4x. And then from here, I'm going to need to get this all equal to 0, so I'll subtract 60. So x squared plus 4x minus 60 equals 0. Then we have to factor this. This may bring back some memories from algebra. The x here and an x here. And you need two numbers that multiply to negative 60 and add to 4. So those two numbers would be like 10 and 6 would multiply to 60 and add to 4. So positive 10, negative 6. The next step is to set each of these equal to 0. So x plus 10 equals 0 and x minus 6 equals 0. You'd solve for 10 or for x, so you get x equals negative 10 and x equals positive 6. So here you have two possible solutions. That might be like your final answer, but you always want to check and see if one of these solutions aren't even logical, and you can throw that one out. So x equals negative 10 would mean the distance of this segment is negative 10, and distance can't be negative. So this one gets thrown out, and so this one has to be the answer. Okay, back to easy, moving down here. We're just going to do number 9 and 10. We're not going to do 11 or 12, so if you need to use that space, you can. Okay, so for this style question, this segment gets squared, so it's going to be x squared equals the exterior segment times the length of the whole thing. So it'll be 9 times 16. X squared equals 9 times 16 is 144. Then you take the square root of both sides and you get x equals 12. And then number 10, same idea. This segment right here gets squared, so it's going to be 24 squared. And then this exterior segment times the length of the whole thing. So 12 times 12 plus x. 24 squared is 576. 12 times 12, 144 plus 12x. And now I'm just solving for x. And it equals x equals 36. So that is all. So your to-do list, homework 10-6 on Schoology. Because of the time, if you want to use your phones to do your homework, you can turn in your notes. You might want to wait till after the homework's done to turn in your notes, and then Alex, if you have time. So you can get your phones to do it all if you need to, or you can use a computer, whichever works